Welcome to Freya's Fairy Tales, where we believe fairy tales are both stories we enjoyed as children and something that we can achieve ourselves. Each week, we will talk to authors about their favorite fairy tales when they were kids, and their adventure to holding their very own fairy tale in their hands. At the end of each episode, we will finish off with the fairy tale or short story read as close to the original author's version as possible. I am your host, Freya Victoria. I'm an audiobook narrator that loves reading fairy tales, novels, and bringing stories to life through narration. I am also fascinated by talking to authors and learning about their why and how for creating their stories. We have included all of the links for today's author and our show in the show notes. Today is part 2 of 2, where we are talking to Jess Bryant about her novels. After today, you will have heard about her journey of writing since she was a kid, keeping possession of your embarrassing stories, writing whenever you have spare time, overcoming self-doubt, and her advice to be a reader first in your genre before writing in the genre. Unmistakable Mate, Fated Mate Series, Book 4. We make our own family. Xander Leary gave up on the idea of family a long time ago. He grew up bouncing around the foster care system, never finding a home to call his own. He has no ties to anyone or anything. So the last thing he expected was a phone call saying his estranged older sister made him guardian to a niece he'd never known existed. With no idea what else to do with the child, he heads for Noir, Louisiana, in search of the younger half-sister he barely remembers. But what he finds in the little bayou town will change his life forever. We make our own fate. Maya DeLuca gave up on the idea of fate a long time ago. She has no use for a fate that let a crazed wolf kill her parents, kidnap her sisters, and torture her. She's worked hard to overcome her traumatic past, to grow into a strong, independent woman, and a fierce alpha wolf. She makes her own decisions, not some supernatural force. She has her own plans, and they don't include the very human mate who just showed up on her doorstep, with no idea that the supernatural world even exists. We make our own happily ever after. He's human. She's a shifter, but their connection is unmistakable. Can Xander accept this new world that he stumbled into? Can Maya accept the possibility that fate chose right? And if they can find common ground, will they discover that sometimes it's our mistakes that lead us to exactly where we were always meant to be? Now, I saw you at least have several of your books in audio. How do you go about doing, obviously, I know as a narrator how the audiobook part happens, but how did you get to that?
It literally happened because the first 2 books in the Fated Mate series, that duet that I started with, it was doing so well that Tantor Media actually just reached out to me and was like, we want to make these into audiobooks. And I was like, yes, please. Please do that. Which was, it was so cool. Like, I got to help pick the narrator and the covers and all of it. And I really enjoyed the process. So the first books that I wrote after that, I was like, I really want to put these in audio. I think, they were male romance. And I was like, I listened to a lot of male romance in audiobook. So I was like, I think they would do really well in that format. So for those 2, I actually went through ACX with, Audible and Amazon.
That's what I mostly use.
And yeah. So I went through them, did those myself, found a awesome, amazing narrator who I love, Jonathan Steiger. He was new to it. He was kind of just getting started himself.
Okay.
And so
I think he follows me on TikTok. Maybe.
He probably does. Yeah, he does voiceover stuff. He's a voiceover actor and was just getting into, figuring out that, hey, there's these like male books that I could be narrating. Yes, please. So
for pretty much any romance, men do very well as romance narrators.
Yes, and he's so good and he's so easy to work with. And I've already told him, I'm like, you're mine. Like, don't go anywhere. Um, when I do more mail, you will be doing them for sure. Because I don't put all of them immediately into audiobook,
Right.
but the ones I think will do well, I definitely do.
Mm-hmm.
And those are my after the Fated Mates duet, the 400 block series, which is my two mail books set in like the same apartment complex kind of thing. They're more like college aged people.
Okay.
Um, they're my best sellers after the Fated Mates. So it made sense to put them to invest that money in them in
Right.
order to see the return.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, and I found too, like some of the books that I've gotten to narrate have been like, books that have been out for a couple of years and people keep asking the author, when is this coming to audio? And they're like, well,
Yes.
I don't know. So here comes, me along narrating for them.
Yes, exactly. That is I I'm not at the point in my career where I can afford to be like I'm making a ebook, a print book, and an audiobook all at the same time out of this,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing if it's even going to do well. So yeah, it's that back end thing for me of like, okay, this has been doing well in these other formats.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's move it into audio and see how it does.
Right. Well, and I work with a lot of like new authors that are like just getting off the ground. So I do a lot
Mhm.
of like royalty share stuff if they're,
Yeah.
actually putting in the effort to have good books with good covers and promoting on social media and all that. I'm like, I will 100% do that royalty share or royalty share plus if you want to pay, something up front. Um
Yes.
because, if you're putting in the effort to promote it on the, the thing to be promoting on at the time, it's gonna sell copies.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I hope John doesn't mind me saying, Johnny. Sorry, Johnny, but I'm gonna tell them that we do royalty share plus is how we worked
Mhm.
it out. So, he gets some up front and then he gets part of the royalties. And
Right.
it works really well for us. And I can't wait to work with him again. So
Yeah, there's
yeah.
there's a lot of narrators that do that, and every narrator has their own selection process for when they'll go royalty share versus royalty share plus or whatever. And so like me as someone auditioning, I'll audition for a book and sometimes a different narrator gets it, but I'll know like, oh, that was listed as a royalty share book because like I auditioned for that at the time.
Yeah.
So like, but then like, so
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
big one, I don't know if you've seen, what is it? Gabriel, Girl of Hearts is the book he's promoting right now
Hmm.
on TikTok. That one was listed as a royalty share, but I'm like, man, he's doing like so many
Yeah.
videos to promote that book. So I'm like, I didn't get it. Paige did. But he said when I talked to him a couple weeks ago and he was like, when she was auditioning, it was exactly like he had it in his head. So I'm like,
Yes.
man, when you find the narrator that, sign them up.
That character, yes. That's how it was when I found Johnny. He was reading the audition piece was from Declan's point of view, and he's this snarky, kind of doesn't trust anybody
Mm-hmm.
man, and he hates his not roommate, his neighbor across the hallway because he has these barking dogs that wake him up all the time. Like
Of course,
hates them,
of
hates him,
course.
and then he meets him for the first time and was like, "Oh crap, he's a hottie." Yeah, no, I still hate you, but I kind of want to kiss you too. And there was just Johnny's voice doing Declan. I was just like, that's Declan right there. That is immediately him. And I think he was only like the third audition that I listened to, and I had
Mm-hmm.
tons on my list, but I was like, nope, I'm done. Like this is it.
I don't even
He's
have to
it.
listen
I
to the
got it.
rest. I'm
Sorry,
done.
guys. I was like, I'm so sorry for everyone else who's in our auditions, but this is my guy. I just knew when I heard him.
It was so funny. So I I posted a video up and Amberly Henning commented on it on TikTok and she was like, "Oh, I've thought about it, but I'm poor, so like I can't afford it." And I'm like, "Dude, she promotes all the time on her stuff." And so I'm like, I'd be willing to do it royalty share, like, if you want to do it. And so she listed up for audition and I auditioned and she's immediately talking to me through Messenger like, "Oh, let's get it done, whatever." Well, then other auditions came in and she was like, "I didn't think anyone else was going to audition for it."
Yes.
So it
Yes.
ended up between
We
me and
as
like one
authors have
other,
this
but
like,
it's the
yeah, we have
imposter
this like
syndrome.
intense belief that nobody else is going to like it or want to
Right.
be part of it.
Right.
Um, I was the same way. I put it up and was like, if I get a couple, it'll be fine. And then like, I think like 57 auditions came in the first day, and
Oh
I was like,
gosh.
these people want to read my book. Okay.
Now, I've also heard I talked to one author and she said she had put her book up for audition like several months before I found her on TikTok. She'd put it up for audition and she ended up with like a couple, but they were like weren't very good. And then one guy was like messaging her, but being very condescending toward her. And she was like, I don't even want to do it. So she was like, never mind, took it off, said, I'll deal with this later. And I find her on TikTok talking about her books. And I'm like, you catch way more flies with honey. There is no need to be rude to anybody, especially if you're trying to create a business relationship with that person. Be nice, be helpful, whatever. I don't care what you're doing.
Yes.
That is always the better way to go. And so, like, I talked to her, walked her through, and ended up, she emailed me the script. I emailed her my audition, and she was like, "You nailed it. We're good." So,
Like, you got it.
yeah.
We're good to go.
So it's a weird process, but yeah, I hear a range of either they don't get a lot of auditions at all to like they got an overwhelming amount of auditions. It's a very wide range.
Yes. Yes. Trying to think. I put up another one that I was going to do for one of my small town romances, and like nothing came in for like days. And I was like, did I do this right? What is going on? And then it was just like a button flipped and they all went through. And then I decided I wasn't going to do it right now. So it's like,
Well,
sorry, I have to
quite
email all these people and
honestly,
be like, thank
I
you.
I think sometimes ACX like holds it because like I have an author that I've done a book for before and she sent me the link to go audition for the one, but then when I went and looked at the auditions available, the book doesn't show up anywhere. So I think they like selectively hide some of them for some reason.
Oh, that could
So
have been it.
yeah, I don't because I've noticed that with a couple books where the author was like, "Hey, it's up, go audition or whatever," and I can't find it without searching like the specific book name in the thing, and then it'll pop up. In theory, they should be
Yeah.
in order,
Yeah.
but they're not sometimes.
I mean, it's just like how Amazon hides books from people. I mean,
Yeah.
of course Audible's going to do it because they're part of the same company.
So, what is your away from audiobooks? What is your kind of strategy, or do you have like a base plan that you like follow for all of the books and then modify based on like the type of book or the book specifically? Like how do you go about creating your marketing plans?
My marketing plan is very vague. I have certain PR companies that I work with
Okay.
on certain releases. There are some that only do paranormal romance. There are some that only do male romance,
Okay.
and then there's the ones I use for my regular MF small town contemporary.
Mhm.
So it kind of just depends on which subgenre I'm writing in, which ones I'm using, and what works for those.
Mhm.
Um, but it's a lot of self promotion as an indie author, a lot
Right.
of going onto your social media and begging people to pre order and like and add it to your Goodreads.
Right.
And, other than that, it's a lot of newsletter blasts, getting in
Mhm.
on, like the Fussy Librarian, Bargain Booksy, all of those that go out to hundreds of thousands of readers,
Right.
and just getting into their inboxes to say, hey, I exist, and trying to tease them into maybe at least clicking on the button to take a look. And a lot of that is, is the blurb well written? Is the
Right.
cover going to pull them in? So I spend a lot more time on those things than I do on picking where I'm going to put it, I guess I should say. I mean, I should probably spend more time picking where I'm going to put it, but I put it everywhere I can.
Well,
That's
hey,
my
I
main
mean,
marketing goal.
even if you only end up with one person from that platform, that's one more person than you had. So
Exactly.
when I'm like, for like podcast promotion, I'm like, I know I do it the way that they don't recommend posting the same thing across all the platforms. But I'm like, you know what? I don't have time in my day to come up with 4 different posts to post across the 4 different platforms I use. So
Yes. Somebody, I can't remember who it was, somebody messaged me a while back and was like, okay, the new thing is Instagram Reels. Like, you're not going to get any traction on anything if you're not doing Reels. And I was like, I don't have time to do Reels. I'm already making videos on TikTok. I'm already doing Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and the Facebook page and the Facebook group and BookBub and all of these other things. I don't have time to make a reel. And they were like, well, then you're not going to get anything on Instagram. And I was like, well, then you know what? It is what it is at this point, because I can either write a book or I can make an Instagram reel. And I think
right.
one is more important than the other.
I just
So only
post my
recently have I figured out that you
over
can
there.
repurpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
That's what I've started doing. That's what I have started doing.
I don't even do the fancy way where like you put it in some random website and then it pulls it down without the link. Nope, it gets the TikTok with my TikTok name bouncing around on it because
Yes,
I don't have time for that.
I did find, I think it's an app, and you download it, like you link it into there, and then it's like without watermark, and it saves it without the TikTok logos.
You're gonna
But
have to
I
send me
found
that
that more
'cause
often than not, when you try to repost it to Instagram, the sound gets off from the mouth without it.
oh,
Like,
that's
something
weird.
in that process
Doesn't
is just a
work.
little bit off. And I'm like, I'd rather leave the TikTok thing on there
Yeah.
than have it look like my mouth doesn't line up, because that bugs the crap out of me in videos.
Same.
So I've just been being like, okay, I posted this here, throw it over on Instagram too. Like,
Well, and
that's all
now
I have time for.
yeah. Well, I saw a TikTok about these accounts on YouTube stealing your TikTok videos and posting them up as a YouTube Shorts. And so now, because they'll do it without your logo. So I've started putting like my little logo with it's transparent in the bottom right corner, or depending on what else is on the video. But in like the bottom right corner, there's
Yeah.
typically my little logo, so that I'm like, if they download it and try to put it up on YouTube Shorts, my name is still on it. So
Yeah, that's true. That's smart. I had not even heard of that. So that's crazy.
yeah, there's a couple accounts, and it's most of the ones that I saw talking about it were like ones that do like painting and art stuff, and so like they'll steal it and claim it's like their own or whatever. But I figure for like writing and not necessarily narrating, but for the writing part too, there was a couple of writers I saw talked about their videos got stolen. So I'm like, yeah, we're just gonna. Well, and
that is
I
just,
post it to Shorts too, so like it's up there as well. But
yeah. Huh. No, I don't use YouTube at all. Everyone is constantly like, you need to do something over there. And I'm just like, again, I could finish writing the book, or I could get on another social media platform. Like, which is more important?
yeah.
It's going to
Yeah.
be writing the book for me. So
Mine is literally, I have a company that I pay to make the little like minute long voice clips from the podcast episodes, and they auto post it. It's like my podcast cover and a fun, like it'll say the name of the episode, and it auto posts it. So I don't even have to do it. I had to set it
Oh,
up, but then it does,
yeah.
it posts the podcast for me. So If I actually
Well,
used
that's
the
cool.
video from these, I, could spend hours editing that, but I don't. So
I do not blame you. Like, let's add another 5,000 things to my to-do list.
yeah, I'm like, no, no. And funny enough, my sister is actually a paid YouTuber and she spends hours editing her stuff. And I'm like, nope,
Gosh.
nope, I don't want to do that.
No,
But I do spend
no.
hours
Like,
editing my audiobooks for people. So yeah, you got to pick
yeah,
your thing you're going to spend hours on. So
exactly. You gotta have that hierarchy of what is the important thing. And some of it just somebody's, top of the mountain is not your top of the mountain.
yes, yeah. In fact, I was planning my day for today and I'm like, oh, I'm a little bit behind in editing audio and I've got to get like my Monday podcasts done. And we're like, we're going to put a time cap. Anything that's not done by like 5 o'clock is just waiting until the next day because like I need to breathe.
Yep.
So,
Yes, exactly. That's what I've been just crunching to get this book finished because it comes out the 21st, the fourth book in that Fated Mate series,
of this
Unmistakable Mate.
month?
It comes out the 21st. Yes, the 21st. And when I was plotting out my writing schedule, I forgot to take off writing days for the 10-day vacation that I took in
Oh
June.
gosh.
So I was literally 10 days, like 20,000 words behind deadline.
Oh
So I have
no.
been majorly crunching on all of that. So I'm trying to do that and get it done and get it uploaded and get it out in ARCs and all of that crazy stuff. And so I've been telling people like for weeks, like I can't do anything except go home and
Right.
write and
Yeah.
edit. And that's it. Like I can't talk to you. I don't have time for you. I'm sorry. I love you. I will see you in August.
Right. Right.
So so today I called my mom because she's been asking if I want to come and hang out in the pool with her at their house. And
Mhm.
I was like, you know what? I was like, I am recording with a friend this morning. And then you know what? I'm taking the afternoon off because it is like
Yeah.
108 degrees here.
Yes. Same.
And like I'm done. Like I can't do another whole day of working inside. It's
Mhm.
like I'm gonna come and I'm gonna get sunburned probably, and then I'll be miserable tomorrow and I'll stay inside and do writing stuff then. But
Right. Right.
after this, I'm done for the day.
Yeah, so my time issues happened. So I started doing narrating in September and I would like book jobs. And I had, of course, at the beginning of starting something, you have no idea how long, like how much narrating you'll be able to get done in a day. So I'm just like, going and going and I have no idea. I mean, I was getting them all in on deadline, like on when I was supposed to. But then like December hit and I had like 4 books I think I finished in like the 2 weeks leading up to Christmas. And one of those was like a 6-hour
Oh.
one. And I'm like, ugh. And so then
Mm.
beginning of the year hits, we went on vacation for Christmas. I come back, I have COVID. And,
Oh.
or like a week later, I get COVID. And so then I come back and I'm finally able to audition again. I'm auditioning for fiction. And I'm like accepting everything because I'm like, yes, people are finally hiring me to do fiction narrating. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, deadlines are coming up really fast. And at the point from September to December, I figured out I could do comfortably about an hour and a half to 2 hours of audio in a day, like narrate it and listen
Mhm.
through it and edit it and all of that. I could do about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And so beginning of the year hits and I wasn't scheduling anything other than put on my calendar when it's due by. Like that's all I would do. And so then I'm getting all these fiction books, like booking, booking, booking. And I finally went, I have a lot of books. How long is it going to take me to get these? So I had to figure out if I'm recording an hour and a half a day, how many days is it going to take me to record each of these so that I can get them all done on
Mhm.
time without, you know, losing my voice, recording too much, or going insane.
Yeah.
And so I figured out how to schedule my time in like March
Mhm.
of this year. And now I stay, if an author hires me on a book, I'm like, hey, this is when it'll take me this many days to record it. This is when it'll be done. And they're like, okay, cool. So I have yet to have a decent author be like, oh, no, I don't want to wait for it. So I've had a couple
Yeah,
of scammy ones or publishers be like, I want to pay you royalty share and I need it done in 2 weeks. And I'm like, and no.
that is not actually how it works.
No.
Yeah, no, I actually found this super cool website because Rowan Parrish posted a TikTok about it. And I love her. She's amazing. And it's called Pacemaker. And you
Okay.
can go in and say, I want to, this is the title of the project.
I
It's
think
a
Golden Angel just
novel.
posted about
I
this
want it to
too.
be probably, yeah. So I've been using that for the last year. And, you can put in your writing goals. And, if you want to take weekends off, or if you want to do, more words at the beginning or more words at the end, or keep it steady or whatever, you put all that info in, and it tells you exactly how many words you have to write that day and every day until your deadline.
And I
And
also
I'm
saw
just
it
like,
can
this is the
adjust
best thing.
too. Like if you get not enough
Yes.
words in or like extra words in, it adjusts
Yes.
your timeline too.
It adjusts. It adjusts as it goes. So if you get, I had a day I missed completely, those get added back in. And if you get ahead, then, you have a lighter load on later days.
Right.
Towards the end of it. And I'm just like, this is a game changer for me, because until I saw that video like a year ago, I was just writing like when I had time. And then once it was done, I'd be like, okay, now I need 4 weeks to get all the marketing in place. And then we release. I had no set schedule whatsoever of an actual plan in place of how to write the book, other than write as much as you can. That was really it for me. So yeah, I was like, Rowan, you saved my life. Like, this thing is amazing.
Now, how does it get because you don't actually write in that, right? You have to put the word counts in from wherever else.
Yes, you put your word count in. I actually write in Word. I'm super simple. I've tried like the Scrivener thing
I use
that
Google
people
Docs,
use, and it didn't. Yes, that's a great way. I do that sometimes if I'm like at work. No, I don't write at work. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, and that's how I got my husband too, because he can do it
running around.
Yeah. And my husband, he does. So he works for a restaurant, and so he'll like on his breaks or whatever, he'll either pull out. He has an iPad that he has a Bluetooth keyboard he can write on, or he'll pull out his phone if he has like a quick minute he's waiting on an order or whatever. So
exactly.
I'm like, I like it because it does sync across all the different things.
Yeah. So I'll do, a writing session and then go in, and I just keep that website open on my laptop all the time and just pull up the day, and it says add progress. And I, select it in Word and say, oh, it was this many words, and put it in. And then, even the same day, I might go in 2, 3, 4 times, and you just press the little plus button and add another set of how many words. Like, you don't have to total it yourself or anything, which is nice.
No, it doesn't do the difference, right?
This chapter.
You don't have to put in like, oh, I did 200 words more. You would just put in like the total.
You just put in the total.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was kind of trying to figure it out, but I'm in the, still researching and reading. I've kind of settled on it's going to be a Greek mythology twisted retelling.
Ooh, I
starting
like it.
The main series, because Greek mythology will be the most information of all the mythologies. And then I'm going to have like side stories like Norse mythology that'll kind of weave in and out of it too. And so
I love Greek mythology so much.
So today, actually, once we get done with this, we're going out to lunch, and then we're going to a bookstore so I can find an actual physical copy of a couple of these.
I understand. Like, sometimes you just need it to sit there so you can page through and highlight and make notes. And
I bought highlighters yesterday.
Oh my God. I love many highlighters.
All this, I like walk into Walmart and all the school supplies were like in the entryway, and I'm like, we're gonna get notebooks and highlighters and colored pens. This will be great.
Yes, I I'm obsessed. We're going
Yeah.
to the Apolycon signing at the end of the month in
Okay.
DC. And I'm like, ooh, I need all new markers and pens for
Yes.
signing. So
Yes.
yeah, I
And I
went to
need
my like local store
multiples in
yesterday and
case
was
one
like,
dies.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I need two of everything at least and every color imaginable because they might want their book signed in orange. I don't know. You don't know.
It was so funny. So when I decided on the name Freya Victoria, like one of the first things I did was figure out my signature for it because I'm like, I'm gonna have to like sign things now, and I gotta have like a signature ready for it. So
Yeah.
I send a nice little like thank you to all the authors that I talked to on here that has the Freya signature on there. But I'd also seen another author that uses his legal name, and his, I guess, publisher told him he couldn't use his normal signature. He had to use a different one for legal
Really
reasons. I guess, I don't know.
interesting.
That would be my
Why, that's
assumption,
good to
is
know.
you don't want people to be able to duplicate what you write on your checks.
That's true. That's a very good point. Now I'm rethinking how I sign all my books.
I'm so sorry.
No, I'm like, is a very valid point. I had a friend post on Facebook, I think it was just yesterday, and she was talking about how she, uses a pen name and she decided that she doesn't like the way she does her A's. So she's changing her signature. And I was like, I don't think I sign mine the same ever. Like, it's just like whatever mood I'm in is how I write out my name. And that's what you get. Like, there is no uniformity to it at all.
But what if you make it famous, like super, super famous, and your book become a collector's item and they can't verify your signature because it's all different?
Yeah, they're
That's where
never,
my brain
ever going to be
goes.
able to. No, they will never know. Like, just the people who are in front of me will know that I signed that book. That is it. Because yeah, sometimes it's like just a J and a Bryant, and sometimes it's Jess Bryant, and sometimes it's Jess B. And it's yeah. I have ADHD, so it's like, especially at signings when there's so many people coming at you and you're trying to have a conversation with them and explain like, yes, I do know you from social media, it's so great to meet you in person, and sign your name at the same time. Like, you're
Yeah.
lucky, like, I'm not just writing what I'm saying to you, is kind of my theory on it.
My signature my legal name signature devolved very quickly. At the time, I was working in a restaurant and I was a manager, so I had to sign my name a lot. And
Yeah.
my first name's not long, but my last name is long and weird. And so, like, I get married, and what's the first thing you do? You got to come up with your new signature, of course, after
Yeah.
you've, confirmed you're married on Facebook, of course. And so
Priorities.
I'm like, we're going to use like this fancy name. We're going to write the whole thing out. It's going to be great. And then I was signing my name so much for work, it turned into like my first initial and then last initial and like squiggle, squiggle, squiggle at the end.
Squiggles.
And
That
that
is
is what it is
exactly
now.
what mine is. It's literally J squiggle B squiggle.
Yeah. Hey, if it works, if it works. And so now, if you had any advice because you've been writing for a while now, so if you have any advice for either new authors or authors maybe looking to shake up their writing process, what kind of advice do you have?
My advice is the same advice that I would have given to first me. Writing the end does not mean that you are ready to publish. There's a lot more that goes into it. Someone trying to get into the industry, I would tell them, first of all, that they need to be part of it as a reader first.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out how things work, make those connections, make friends,
Mm-hmm.
and you can say, I'm a reader. I would hope that if you're writing a romance, you're also a reader of romance, because
Right.
otherwise, I think you're just probably doing it for the wrong reasons and you're not going to go very far anyways.
Right.
But yeah, just be part of the community, be active in it, help other people, and you will be surprised how far those connections and relationships can get you, and how kind this community can be and welcoming to, someone that does their part, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And what are good ways to find that you've found to find your alpha, beta, and arc readers? Because I mean, not everyone's going to have an inner circle of people to choose from. What are good ways to find those?
No. Um, I didn't have one when I first started. The way that I have them now is just because they are my readers. They've been with me for a really long time at this point,
Hmm.
and I trust them to give me their honest feedback,
Right.
and they know my style of writing.
And they know your
So again,
storyline
those
too.
friendships are really, yes, I mean, they know, they've read it as many times as I have probably.
Right.
Um, so yeah, it's just those, it's friendship really is the basis of everything in this industry,
Hmm.
is making friends, being part of the community and being active in it. And that's how you will find your people. And then your people will help you find your readers. And that is the ultimate goal.
All right. And so if you are, I guess to sum that up, if you're new, don't upload right after you finish
No,
writing the end.
no,
Reach
no.
out to some, and I've had another author here said that she actually found her beta readers on Fiverr because she didn't know
Oh,
how else to find, someone that could give her unbiased opinions on her story. So,
no, that's smart.
but
That's super
also
smart.
I've seen people on TikTok, mostly ARC readers. Mostly I see people looking for ARC readers, but I've also seen some looking for beta readers, put call outs
Hmm.
on there. Um, and that
Yeah,
could be
a
as
lot
simple
of
as
people
message me.
are, yeah, a lot of people are doing that these days of like they want new beta readers, people that aren't or maybe haven't read their previous stuff so that they can get that, unbiased feedback of
Hmm.
these aren't people that are going to feel indebted to me or
Right.
like they're going to hurt my feelings, but I just pick people that are blunt.
That is
Like,
me
you
all
might
the
be my
way.
friend, but I also know that you're also just going to be like, Jess, this makes no freaking sense. Rewrite this.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have one of my, actually, both of the people that I have currently reading my book are both my best friend, and I have an author that I narrate for that is also reading through, and they're both very
Mhm.
nice. I'm like, I need someone that's not nice to alpha read.
Yeah. I let my best friend be a beta reader, and all she would ever come back with was, "Oh my god, I loved it. I think it's your best one yet." Every time. And I was like, "While I adore you for that feedback
Yes.
because it really strokes my ego, I
Right.
need a little more." And
Yes.
she won't do it. Like she's not that kind of person that, and she's like, I read romance, but like I'm not in the community. I'm not, all this. I'm just here with you, basically. I'm tagging along with you.
I feel
So
like
no, I'm not gonna tear it down.
Right. I feel like a list of questions though. What exactly did you like about it? What did you not like about it? What
Mhm.
did you think I did really, really well storyline wise, and what could have been improved on? Like even just simple questions. I mean,
Yes.
that's like basic, going back to like college days where we had to read these awful stories in college, and you had to answer these stupid test questions. They were basic questions. What did the hero have to
Yeah.
do to whatever, like just a basic list of what did you like? And
Yes.
that's like
I
business
have an author friend that
101.
gives her beta readers. I have an author friend who gives her beta readers a written list of questions of like, this
Mhm.
is what I want you to fill out when you're done. Um, I tried that. It didn't work for me with mine. Just
Mhm.
it, I don't know. It felt weird being like, here's basically your test questions to me.
Yeah.
So I just tell, the ones that I know, I just shoot them a message, say, hey, it's coming to you. This is what I want you to look for. And I give them a list. And then if they see any of those things, they know to tell me.
Mhm.
And anything else they see is just extra on their part helping me out. So
When I kind of
it's
do
a
the same
partnership.
with new like books that I start to narrate, I always send the author like It's refined over time because some of these questions I didn't think to ask at the beginning. But how many
Mhm.
characters, how many speaking characters can I expect? I do a lot of fantasy, so like how many made up words are there? And can you
Oh,
please tell me how to
yeah.
pronounce those? What else do I ask now? Accents? What accents are in your book or not? I'm
Yeah,
working up the
those are, like,
accents, but
big things.
yeah. So, like, big things, like,
Yeah.
especially, like, the series I'm working on now, there's 128 speaking characters in this series.
Whoa!
Not main characters, there's a lot of
Wow.
side ones, so I basically created a pool of male
Mhm.
and female voices I could do the side characters from. But yeah,
Yeah, wow, that is a lot.
yeah. So, I'm like, I've done comfortably prior to this, I had done, like, 40 voices. This one I'm like, "Oof." It's a lot.
Wow, that is a lot of talking people right there.
Yeah. Well, and it's some of them are like one-liners, like, "Hey, you're not welcome here," kind of thing, um,
Mhm.
but they still talk.
Yep. Yes, they do.
And they can't talk in the main character's voice. So
Yeah, I don't know how you do that because that is amazing to me.
I actually found I just came across it was recommended in a narrators group on Facebook. There's this guy that does a YouTube video on how to create 100 distinct voices. And so he goes through it's actually a dance movement thing, but there's like 8 categories to start with, but then you can do it like soft, normal, or loud. You can do it young, middle-aged, or old, like all these changes you can make to develop all these so
Oh.
I found that at the beginning of the series I'm working on, so I kind of tried to apply that, but this author also said, "Don't use weird voices," so I can't use my witchy voice because he doesn't want weird voices. I can't use my
Yeah.
demon voice because he doesn't want weird voices, so
I'm like, maybe it's not weird if he's a demon.
yeah, I'm like, "I don't
He's a
know."
side character. You don't know his backstory. He
Oh,
could
he
be.
does. This author does. There's backstories for
Oh,
all of them.
oh, wow. Yeah.
There's some
Fantasy man. Whew.
yeah. Well, and there's like 3 different categories. There's like authors that are just so excited to have their book in audio, they really don't care. There's authors that are like, I care about these specific things and the rest of it, just you do you. And then there's ones that are like so nitpicky that in their audition, they're so nitpicky. I'm like, nope, nope, not auditioning for
Yeah.
that.
Nope. That's just a little too much. I understand.
Some commentary is not bad in the audition. Like, I appreciate when they give you a little bit of like backstory of like, this is what happened just
Mhm.
before the audition piece. But yeah, when they're super, super nitpicky specific already, I'm like, this gonna take a long time.
Yeah. I understand that.
I think we are about done. I thank you so much for
Okay.
coming on here today.
Thank you so much for having me on. This was
Mm,
so much fun.
It was fun. You have a good day.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye. As she got older, Jess liked different stories, but especially Beauty and the Beast. She related to Belle's feeling like she didn't belong in her hometown and her love for books. Beauty and the Beast is a fairy tale written by French novelist Gabrielle Suzanne Barbeau de Villeneuve and published in 1740 in La Jeune Américaine et les Contes Marins, The Young American and Marine Tales. Her lengthy version was abridged, rewritten, and published by French novelist Jean-Marie Le Prince de Beaumont in 1756 in Magazine des Enfants, children's collection, to produce the version most commonly retold. Later, Andrew Lang retold the story in Blue Fairy Book, a part of the Fairy Book series in 1889. The fairy tale was influenced by ancient Greek stories, such as Cupid and Psyche, from The Golden Ass, written by Lucius Appius Madurensis in the 2nd century AD, and The Pig King, an Italian fairy tale published by Giovanni Francesco Strapola in Fastidious Nights of Strapola around 1550. Variants of the tale are known across Europe. In France, for example, Zamir and Azur is an operatic version of the story, written by Marmontel and composed by Grétry in 1771, which had enormous success into the 19th century. Zamir and Azur is based on the second version of the tale, Amour pour amour, Love for Love, by Pierre-Claude Nivelle de la Chaussée is a 1742 play, based on de Villeneuve's version. According to researchers at universities in Durham and Lisbon, the story originated about 4,000 years ago. Today, we'll be reading The Summer and Winter Garden by the Brothers Grimm, another fairy tale with the same tale type classification as Beauty and the Beast. Don't forget, we're reading Le Morte d'Arthur, the story of King Arthur and of his noble knights of the Round Table on our Patreon. You can find the link in the show notes. The Summer and Winter Garden. A merchant was planning to go to a fair, so he asked his 3 daughters what he should bring back for them. The oldest one said, "A beautiful dress." The second, "A pair of pretty shoes." The third, "A rose." To find a rose would be difficult, for it was the middle of winter, but because the youngest daughter was the most beautiful, and because she took great pleasure in flowers, the father said that he would do his best to find her one. The merchant was now on his homeward trip. He had a splendid dress for the oldest daughter, a pair of beautiful shoes for the second one, but he had not been able to get a rose for the third one. Whenever he had entered a garden looking for roses, the people just laughed at him, asking him if he believed that roses grew in the snow. He was very sad about this, and as he was thinking about what he might bring his dearest child, he came to a castle. It had an adjoining garden where it was half summer and half winter. On the one side, the most beautiful flowers were blossoming, large and small. On the other side, everything was bare and covered with deep snow. The man climbed from his horse. He was overjoyed to see an entire hedge full of roses on the summer side. He approached it, picked one of them, and then rode off. He had already ridden some distance when he heard something running and panting behind him. Turning around, he saw a large black beast that called out, "Give me back my rose or I'll kill you! Give me back my rose or I'll kill you!" The man said, "Please let me have the rose. I'm supposed to bring one home for my daughter, the most beautiful daughter in the world. For all I care, but then give me your beautiful daughter for a wife." In order to get rid of the beast, the man said yes, thinking that he would not come to claim her. However, the beast shouted back to him, "In 8 days I will come and get my bride." So the merchant brought each daughter what she had wanted, and each one was delighted, especially the youngest with her rose. 8 days later, the 3 sisters were sitting together at the table when something came stepping heavily up the stairs to the door. "Open up! Open up!" it shouted. They opened the door and were terrified when a large black beast stepped inside. "Because my bride did not come to me and the time is up, I will fetch her myself." With that, he went to the youngest daughter and grabbed hold of her. She began to scream, but it did not help. She had to go away with him. And when the father came home, his dearest child had been taken away. The black beast carried the beautiful maiden to his castle, where everything was beautiful and wonderful. Musicians were playing there, and below there was the garden, half summer and half winter, and the beast did everything to make her happy, fulfilling even her unspoken desires. They ate together, and she had to scoop up his food for him, for otherwise he would not have eaten. She was dear to the beast, and finally she grew very fond of him. One day she said to him, "I'm afraid, and don't know why. It seems to me that my father or one of my sisters is sick. Couldn't I see them just once?" So the beast led her to a mirror and said, "Look inside." She looked into the mirror, and it was as though she were at home. She saw her living room and her father. He really was sick, from a broken heart, because he held himself guilty that his dearest child had been taken away by a wild beast, and surely had been eaten up. If he could know how well off she was, then he would not be so sad. She also saw her 2 sisters sitting on the bed and crying. Her heart was heavy because of all this, and she asked the beast to allow her to go home for a few days. The beast refused for a long time, but she grieved so much that he finally had pity on her and said, "Go to your father, but promise me that you'll be back here in 8 days." She promised, and as she was leaving, he called out again, "Do not stay longer than 8 days." When she arrived home, her father was overjoyed to see her once again, but sickness and grief had already eaten away at his heart so much that he could not regain his health, and within a few days he died. Because of her sadness, she could think of nothing else. Her father was buried, and she went to the funeral. The sisters cried together and consoled one another, and when her thoughts finally turned to her dear beast, the 8 days were long past. She became frightened, and it seemed to her that he was too sick. She set forth immediately and returned to his castle. When she arrived there, everything was still and sad inside. The musicians were not playing. Black cloth hung everywhere. The garden was entirely in winter and covered with snow. She looked for the beast, but he was not there. She looked everywhere but could not find him. Then she was doubly sad. She did not know how to console herself. She sadly went into the garden where she saw a pile of cabbage heads. They were old and rotten, and she pushed them aside. After turning over a few of them, she saw her dear beast. He was lying beneath them and was dead. She quickly fetched some water and poured it over him without stopping. Then he jumped up and was instantly transformed into a handsome prince. They got married, and the musicians began to play again, and the summer side of the garden appeared in its splendor, and the black cloth was all ripped down, and together they lived happily ever after. Thank you for joining Freya's Fairy Tales. Be sure to come back next week to hear Dallas's journey to holding her own fairy tale in her hands, and to hear one of her favorite fairy tales.